Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm your host, Philip Catalfamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll conduct a two-parter interview with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. We'll first speak about their senior standout from New Zealand, the strong group of returning juniors. He'll give his assessment of the region and speak about his retirement plans. We'll also talk to Coach Moran about who his replacement coach might be, what he learned in his first few seasons of coaching, how he has seen the game change throughout the years, and shares his thoughts on the future of basketball. And when we return from break, we'll be joined by Prescott boys basketball coach Travis Stedman to speak about the end of the season, how the program performed in the playoffs, what the focus in the offseason will be, plans to further develop their freshman standout guard, and which players we could see up at the varsity level next season. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by Prescott High School boys basketball coach Travis Stedman. Coach Stedman, welcome onto the show.
Hey, Phil, thanks for having me. I appreciate the phone call.
Well, we're happy to have you, Coach. The Badgers finished their season 11-7 overall, earning them the number 12 seed in the 4A, which got them a play-in game against Thunderbird. The Badgers were able to beat the Titans in the first round, 80-70, resulting in a round 2 matchup with Mesquite. Coach, I know the Mesquite game didn't necessarily go your way, but in general, how did you feel the season went?
You know, I'm going to sound like a coach here, but we had our ups and downs for sure. We were really blessed to have a really solid squad this year. We didn't have any problem scoring points. We played hard. They were really, really fun to coach. We're at the point now where you can look back and see some of the stuff that could have gone better, woulda, shoulda, couldas, all that stuff. But ultimately, this is no joke. We had the most successful season they've had since 1996 in Prescott. So when you look at it from afar, it was completely successful on that end. But, as a coach.
Well, I know you're never satisfied, Coach. So, you're always trying to improve and get this team better. But congratulations on such a successful season, Coach. That's great. I know I don't want to really open up a wound for you here, but I'm curious, what happened in the Mesquite game? I'm just kind of, what happened in that one?
Honestly, no wound opened. I've seen the film 3 times now, so I'm good to go. Yeah, I've gone through that horror story. Honestly, a really good basketball team. A couple things that really stood out. We didn't handle some composure in the second half. The first half we were trading blows. It was a really, really good high school basketball game for the first 16 minutes. Took the lead in the beginning of the third quarter, and then the proverbial wheels fell off at that point, and live ball turnovers really, really hurt us, which resulted in a couple big runs that gave them a 10-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. And then our game plan had to change a little bit. And, honestly, at the end of the day, without fouls and stuff, it was probably like a 11 or 12-point game that, at the end of the day shows on the standings something different. But, they're a really, really good basketball team. In fact, they ended up beating Peoria a couple days later, who was really, really good. And then last night beat St. Mary's at the buzzer on like a 3-quarter court shot at, down too. So at the end of the day, like we could say eventually we ended up losing to a team that's playing for a state title at the end of the week. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. And like you said, Mesquite's a great program, and, they're looking like a potential championship team. So, it's unfortunate the season had to end the way that it did for you guys, but like you said, very successful nonetheless. You had a great senior performance from Jason Parent. I know a guy we've talked about the last time we spoke. We spoke more in terms of before the season. Now that the season is officially done, Jason will now graduate. So I'm just curious, Coach, we'll talk about the rest of the senior class as well, but I know that Jason kind of is the standout, 26 points per game, one of the best scorers in the 4A. I mean, what did he bring to the team this year in his final year?
He was a kid that we haven't had in the program in a long time. Somebody that you don't necessarily need to do anything for. He's going to go get you a bucket. He's going to go make a play. And those are the kind of guys that make you look really good as a coach. And so he was one of those guys that nobody else in our region had, nobody else in the recent area had. A couple other teams. I mean, we're talking top 2 or 3 best players in 4A, and we were blessed enough to have him in our roster. And so whatever we needed, he found a way to at least attempt to do it, and most likely succeed at the end of the day too. So
you talk about a guy like Jason Parent. I mean, obviously he's, one of those guys, you get a couple of them every so often. Every few years, you get a guy who really can score well with the basketball or just has a very high basketball IQ. But I'm curious with Jason, you talk about somebody who you don't necessarily have to give a lot of adjustments to. He obviously knows the game very well. How do you sort of build your offense around a guy like Jason who you really don't need to give too much direction to?
It's a little more difficult than it sounds, because it just seems like you can roll the ball out and just let it go. The thing is, there's 4 of the guys on the floor that wear the same jerseys. So you got to find a way to kind of integrate those guys into what he's really good at. And it takes a special kind of kid to be able to do that, because again, one basketball, 4 guys, 32 minutes. It's really hard to make everybody happy. And when one guy's taking 18 to 20 shots a game, it takes away some opportunities. So honestly, it's sacrifice. It's nothing that Jason does. It's the fact that we need to have guys that are willing to sacrifice and star in their roles. And we were really blessed. I mean, guys that I talked about Logan Jacks. Logan Jacks is a senior that's graduating. I'm sure we'll talk about him and some of those other guys later, but he specifically was one of those guys that his entire basketball career coming into varsity, he was the man. Like, he was the guy that had the ball. He would do everything. And the minute he played varsity basketball, his role had to change. Right. And you need guys like that are willing to buy into that big change and being able to set screens and pass and rebound and defend. And not that other guys aren't doing that, but it's like we had 5 or 6 guys that were willing to dig down and take care of that. So that's why we were so successful. And Jason too, honestly.
Yeah. And of course, with Jason, being sort of the target on offense. So defense is obviously, other schools, when they're on defense, are going to focus more heavily on Jason, which means that he'll draw double teams. He'll draw pressure from inside to outside, which will really open the floor up for the rest of the guys who are standing on the wings or who are inside the paint. So it's nice that you've got Jason Parent, like you said, a guy who can do scoring himself, but he really can be utilized as a decoy in an offense like this potentially. But Coach, you mentioned one of your fellow seniors in Logan Jex. Along with him is Jonas Carmen, Parker Jex, Isaac Rose, and Noah Osorio. They all are, along with Jason, in your senior class this season, Coach. I just wanted to ask you, is there anything you wanted to say while we kind of wrap up the season about this senior class and their contributions this season?
Being a senior on a varsity basketball team is probably one of the most difficult things. It's right up there as being a freshman trying to dive into something. But more so, it's not easy, because you're either playing or you're not playing. And we were fortunate. You have 6 guys that are seniors. This is their last year. They're trying to make a mark on the program. And I can honestly tell you, those 6 kids from start to finish, the program's better off because of them. And across the board, what they did was being part of something bigger to them was awesome. So yeah, kudos to them. It was a pleasure. I wasn't ready to be done coaching them, but you know how it is. So
yes, it is the unfortunate circumstance when it comes to coaching high school sports, is you got to say bye at some point. It's unlike,
sure.
Well, I'm sure it's the same way in college and professionals as well to an extent, but you get a little more years out of those kids than you do in high school. Again, we're speaking with Prescott High School boys basketball coach Travis Stedman. The Badgers finished their season 11-7 overall, earning the number 12 seed in the 4A. They were able to make it to the second round in the playoffs. A very successful season for Coach Stedman and the Badgers. Coach, there was a freshman on the roster that was a huge standout for you. I wanted to talk about Uriah Tennant. I apologize if I'm pronouncing his last name incorrectly, but he averaged about 15 points per game. He was right behind Jason Parent in scoring. What do you think he can achieve in his next 3 years?
Yeah, the sky's the limit with him. He's crazy mercurial. Like he's the toughest kid on the court. Going into the summer preseason, we had an idea that these freshmen were going to be contributors to what we were doing, specifically Uriah. And we just didn't know what they were going to do. We didn't know what capacity they were going to compete at. We literally just threw him in, and immediately he stood out. Like he took control. He plays the game like he's been playing it for 30 years. At his 5'8" stature, $126 or whatever he weighs in at. And he controls the basketball with so much poise. His defense's tenacity is incredible. His IQ is off. He was hands down our most intelligent basketball player from a basketball IQ standpoint. And he was second in the team in rebounds, second or third. I can't remember it, right there, like really, really close, at 5'7" And we're talking about a kid that left it like legitimately put big footprints in the ground to take off in his high school career. And I'm excited to see where he can head. So,
well, Coach, it's kind of really great timing because you get a senior in Jason Parent graduating, and you get a guy in Uriah Tennant who not necessarily is the exact same player. Of course, they play differently. They provide different things to the offense and the defense. But I'm curious, could you see Uriah get to a similar level that you've gotten with Jason? Do you feel you could maybe utilize Uriah in a similar fashion in the offense without giving out, of course, too much strategy here? But I'm just curious, where are you at with the player comparisons between the two?
Well, we've been pretty lucky. So he and Jason complemented each other a ton. That's why one of the big reasons why we were so successful is they have different skill sets, and they kind of fill the gaps that the other ones don't. The other thing too is he's pretty malleable. Like what you can do with him is a lot. Like this year, we really relied on him to handle the basketball, take care of our defensive side. Like at the beginning, he was kind of the quarterback of the defense, and to make the right decision to get the guys in the right spots. I don't expect that to change a whole lot moving forward. What's going to change is he's going to have the ball in his hands a little more. Right. He's going to be asked a little more to do some things offensively that he wasn't having to do this year. But our pieces are going to change too. So, we're going to get creative and find ways to put him in a situation to be successful. But I can honestly tell you, by the end of the time he graduates, he'll be up there on the wall, I'm sure, at some point in some capacity for sure. So, yeah, he and Jason are on the same trajectory for sure.
Coach, what about the rest of the returners on the varsity roster this season? Who also are you excited to get back? Who was up at the varsity level for you next season?
Well, one of the ones we were hoping to get back more so this year, but specifically next year too. Jake Hilton, he was an all-state football player for us. Tremendous on the gridiron, had some nagging, hankering injuries that really held him back this year. He was kind of a missing cog defensively for us. Extremely good athlete, 6'4", long, quick, has a good bounce, can shoot it. But hoping we can get him back 100% next year. He'll be a senior. The other guy we're getting back specifically is Zangal, our 6'10" freshman post that honestly probably had a really good chance of being defensive player of the year in our region as a freshman. I think he was like second in the state in blocks, and altered a ton of shots, ran the floor, has he and Uriah have an incredible basketball IQ. He's probably one of our best passers on the team this year. And he's only going to develop and grow and get better. So we have a really nice core coming back that I'm really excited about.
Coach, you talk about your 6'10" player just a few seconds ago. And you mentioned that he is a good passer. Are you seeing that, kind of looking around the region a little bit, more specifically, we'll get a chance to speak with Coach Moran in just a little bit of Coconino high school basketball. We'll talk to him about their season as well. And they've got a few tall kids as well. I know he's got one specifically who was running the point for them. So I want to get your opinion, Coach. Are we seeing more of these big guys start to utilize their offensive skills in terms of passing and dribbling like we see in the European circuit, or we're seeing a lot more here in the NBA and in college, where, you don't necessarily have a dedicated post player. You've got a tall forward who can play, the post position, but can also handle the ball a little bit. I mean, are you seeing that more of a trend, or did I mishear you?
No, I don't know if at the high school level, you kind of get what you get for the most part.
Right.
It's weird with big kids. Like we're talking 6'8" and above, 6'6" and above. A lot of those kids don't love playing basketball. They play basketball because they're 6'10",
Yeah.
and Zane's not one of those guys. So I think the IQ and the feel come from your love and care for the game. I think it's, if you want to invest something in something, that's what the outcome is going to be. And he's one of those guys specifically that they have that skill set. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's inherent, but a lot of it is the fact that he really loves playing. I know that the perimeter game, moving, clearing out the paint, not having a dedicated post player, that has helped a little bit, maybe helped, hindered, whatever it is. But you don't see a lot of traditional back to the basket type kids much anymore, partially because nobody wants to play that way for some reason, even though I think they don't like being pigeonholed. Moran up in Coconino, completely different. They love playing back to the basketball, that hard dog, put a body on somebody, bully him down to the paint. So he's going to have a completely different opinion about the situation than I do probably. And that's good, bad, or indifferent. But, Zane's skill set, the nice thing about Zane specifically is he can do both. Like he can go bang down on the block, but he can shoot it. He's got range to 20 feet. He passes it. So he's one of those weird, I think the word that gets thrown around now is unicorns. That might be a strong adjective, but he's one of those guys that he has skills on would be the equivalent to like a 5-tool baseball player. He can do just about everything. And like I said, he's only going to improve. So,
Coach, just kind of quickly here, I want to talk about the JV team. They were able to secure 11 wins this season. Like I mentioned, you and I talked before the season even started, and you had mentioned a few kids that you were looking forward to getting next season from the JV team. Two of them, two names you mentioned, Michael Bentner and Chris Pippy Brown, were two guys coming up from the JV team you were excited about. How were their contributions this year down at the JV level? How did they develop as the season went along? And are there any other names that you're excited to bring up?
Both Micah and Pippy actually ended up contributing quite a bit moving down the stretch this year. Micah's 6'5", he's active. He's more of that traditional, like that new modern style big that we were talking about a few seconds ago. He loves to set screens. He's constantly active. He's a really good roller to the basket. He's got good bounce. He's really, really long. Like his wingspan's crazy long. In fact, he's a tremendous swimmer. Like he's a state placer swimmer every year. So, and I think that's probably what his future is going to hold. But on the basketball floor, he's one of those guys that, like, again, we could talk about that not a lot of teams have with active big that can do a whole lot of stuff. Pippy, on the other hand, completely different player. He's about 6'3". He's what I would consider like a Tasmanian devil type guy. He'll go in there and do stuff that nobody else wants to do. He's going to step in and take a charge. He's going to go play.
He's your Dennis Rodman coach.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. He's gonna pick up and he's gonna snag 3 rebounds in a minute and a half and
just keep him away from Madonna, coach.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Hopefully there's not some weird marriage ceremony.
If he starts breaking out the hair dye, you gotta have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't think his hair could get any worse. So it's the hair dye might be an improvement. So.
Oh, okay.
But no, he's one of those guys that just, he does all the dirty stuff. I mean, it's he'll go take care of things that nobody else will. And we love having him because he's great in practice and his personality is incredible. Micah, both of those two together are just clowns. Like they really lighten the mood when they're together. So,
well, that's great. Of course, who doesn't love a good, fun teammate to be around, especially when it's a tough game. I've been around a few tough games in my high school basketball career, along with baseball as well. And it's nice to have some friends and people who are there who keep things light and keep the energy up, because it's tough to lose, and it's tough to lose by a lot. Coach, I want to just kind of quickly, your coaches down at the lower levels, the JV and the freshman team, both having successful seasons this year. Like I mentioned, the JV team secured 11 wins. Freshman team had what I counted what was about 17 wins on the season, give or take maybe 1 or 2 if my count was wrong. But I just want to ask, how have those coaches helped develop this program since you've come on?
Well, Coach Carmen at our JV level, he and I have been really good friends for about 20 years. He's been in my program since I started. In fact, when I was in the Prescott program prior, he and I coached together then. We've known each other a really long time. He understands the system. He knows the system. He knows we have some congruency on how I want stuff done. And he does a really good job translating that and then eventually getting the kids ready to play. That makes a huge difference. Coach Tanette at the freshman level, he's new this year, but he has a tremendous coaching background. He's coached collegiately in California. He's coached high school in California. When he moved to town, it's just been, he's been kind of a godsend because that freshman class that came in was probably one of the better freshman classes we've had. Not the two on varsity withstanding, but the group that he coached is one of the better groups that we've had in quite some time here. And there's some pieces at both those levels, freshman and JV, that are going to come in and fill some gaps and contribute immediately. And it's really exciting. I mean, in fact, I'm pretty sure the freshman team went like 17-1 or something like that. So
yeah, a very good season.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting and exciting to see how they progress. And once they hit the weight room and once they, once puberty kicks in and all that stuff, we're going to, we'll see where they head. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Uriah goes from 5'8" to about 6'4" over the summer or something like that. Because I know, man, I'll tell you what, Coach, I don't know where you're finding all these tall kids, but my high school team, we averaged about 5'9", and you're telling me you got 6'1" kids. So different type of playing here in Northern Arizona. We are speaking with Prescott High School boys basketball coach Travis Stedman. Again, the Badgers finished their season 11-7 overall, earning them the number 12 seed in the 4A. Coach, kind of wrapping up here, I just want to ask, where are you at with the summer workouts? What is your plan for the off season? Will the team participate in any summer tournaments? Where are some areas you'd like to see the team improve in next season? I know we'll touch base again, but just, as we kind of begin the early portions of the off season, what plans do you have?
Once the season ends, I spend a lot of time with just some decompressed time for the guys. It's good to, the mental health portion of basketball goes a long way because it extends the longevity of your love for the game and honestly your competitive level. We're going to start diving in the next week or two, doing some developmental stuff, some individual workout type things. We still have to do a lot of our exit interviews for the season. And once we get some feedback from the kids, we love doing that because then, as a coach, that's about the only time you get to have a, heart-to-heart conversation individually with kids and find out where you can improve and where they, things were good for them and that kind of thing. So it opens communication too. But once we get some of that feedback, we're going to start rolling back in right after spring break, mid-March, we'll start really diving into some quickness and agility stuff and some individual workouts. And, once summer rolls around, June's going to be a lot of those kids in April and whatnot are going to go play club basketball and do that. But once June rolls around, we're going to hit it pretty heavy. Hopefully playing some set in the Section 7 again, and hopefully hit 2 or 3 other tournaments along the way and see what we have moving forward. Because again, we have some holes to fill and be nice to see what the auditions look like. So
again, Prescott High School boys basketball coach Travis Stedman, sir, it's always great to speak with you. And I always appreciate your time. Best of luck going forward. I'm sure we'll speak again during the summer and get caught up on everything that has to do with Prescott basketball. Again, Coach Stedman, thank you very much for your time.
Phil, I love your support. I really, really appreciate what you do for our program, and keep up the good work because it doesn't go unnoticed for sure.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation with basketball. However, this time with Coconino boys basketball coach Mike Moran. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Two things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. I'm joined now by a familiar face of the program. He is Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. Coach Moran, welcome back onto the show.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Glad to be here.
Well, Coach, we're happy to have you. The Panthers finished their season 15-3 overall, earning them the number 10 ranking in the 4A, along with a 4A Grand Canyon region title. We're going to be doing a two-parter interview here with Coach Moran. Here in this first segment, we're going to talk about just the season and looking forward to next season. And then when we take a break and we come back, we'll talk to Coach Moran about his entire basketball career, because Coach Moran has announced that he will be and has now retired from coaching basketball at Coconino High School, and at least for right now, coaching basketball in general. So, Coach, again, congrats on finishing the season. Like I said, 15-3 overall. You guys get that number 10 ranking in the 4A. You get that region title. You set up your first round playoff game with Micah Mountain. You guys are able to get past them, which set up the second round matchup with Paradise Honors. Ironically enough, they're also called the Panthers. I know the game didn't go the way you wanted it to against the Panthers, but Coach, just in general, in your final year, how did the season go in your opinion?
You know, we were very, very proud of our season, and it was difficult. Like it is every year. We started slow. We had some football guys come off the field, and they weren't ready to go the first week down at Notre Dame, and we got whooped down there, gave up 79, which is not like us. But overall, we had a great season because we stuck it out. We hung in there. We stuck together, and we worked hard. And the kids that came out from football, did a good job of fitting in, rebound. They were our inside game, and we had a great season overall. And winning the region title is something that we shoot for, of course, and getting into the state playoffs and doing those kinds of things are really important to us. So it's a great year overall.
Coach, I want to ask, you talk about, your guys coming together and really putting it together down the stretch. I want to ask, how specifically did this team grow throughout the season? Were there areas where you guys needed to improve and that you were able to make adjustments? And were there any goals that you guys were able to set and then accomplish?
Well, we accomplished region championship was something that we talk about. We won more than 20 games, which I think is it's a great milestone there to hit 21 victories, that kind of thing. So we were able to accomplish a lot, in terms of the basketball game. But I thought we grew a lot as a team, and we moved Rufus to the shooting guard, and we moved Mitchell Jacobson back into the point guard spot, and we started to click a little bit at that time. And so it was a lot of hard work. We had to go to work and learn how to play defense to get where we wanted to go, and it was a great year overall.
Coach, we spoke in November, right around the start of the season. It may have been more like mid-season, but you had mentioned that the region this year was going to be quite tough. I'm just curious, what was your assessment of the region, and did you feel it was as difficult as you projected?
It was as difficult as I thought it would be. I watched the great teams at Bradshaw and Prescott over the summer. I watched the talent that Flag High had, and I saw Dave Barry back at Mingus. There's some great coaches in this league, so I knew it was going to be really tough. Ever since I got back to town 5 years ago, it's been a grind, and these guys have just gotten better and better. And we've been competing against one another really hard and very respectfully, I might add. So.
Again, we were speaking with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. The Panthers able to finish the season with a 4A Grand Canyon region title and also a playoff appearance. So a successful season for Coach Moran in his final year with Coconino. Coach, you've got 6 solid seniors. We're going to specifically talk about one in just a little bit, but I just want to ask you, with this being your final year, is there anything that you want to say to that senior class that came through for you this year?
I would just like to, I thank them like I do every day for their, their class and their attitude, their effort, their, working hard in the classroom. Those kinds of things are really important to us. I thought we got along really well. Matthew Reber, one of our captains, Jordan Holloway, another captain, Mitchell Jacobson. Those three guys I relied on a lot to, to see how we were doing, how the team was feeling. They did a tremendous job overall, keeping us in sync and helping me, help them as best I could.
Coach, like I mentioned, we're going to talk specifically now about one of your seniors, Rufus Rushholm-Combe, because he's obviously a different type of player because he not only, we'll talk about his contributions on the court, but his story is quite interesting. I mean, he comes from New Zealand and makes his way to Coconino High School. Coach, so before we kind of get into how he contributed on the floor, I'd love to kind of ask you, where did that relationship start? And how did you guys get Rufus from New Zealand to, and no disrespect, Coach, I mean, to Coconino County? I mean, if you look at, some of the areas he got in Phoenix, I mean, the Phoenix metropolitan area is right there, but he chooses to go play for you in Coco. So please tell us more about that relationship and how it started.
Well, it's a great honor for me because this all started with a young man named Brendan Polyblank from New Zealand. And it turns out that Brendan played for us like almost 20 years ago now. And so when Rufus comes to America, it's quite a connection because Brendan Polyblank is one of the best players I've ever coached. And Rufus is playing for him over there in New Zealand, different club teams and school teams. So Brendan Polyblank wanted his player, Rufus, to come to America and have the same great experience he did at Coconino High School in Northern Arizona.
Yeah, that's really cool, Coach. I mean, that speaks to just, what you've built there at Coconino High School and the kind of coach you are. You want guys to play for you. I'm about 6 or 7 years now removed from high school, and I want to get back out on the floor and play basketball for you, Coach, whenever we talk. But I want to ask, obviously Rufus coming in from New Zealand, a little bit of a different kind of culture there. It's not extremely different, but there are obviously some things they do differently in New Zealand. So I want to ask, Rufus coming over to New Zealand, how did the guys welcome him in? What was the reception with him on the floor, and how did he contribute to the team this year?
That's the neat thing about the foreign exchange student. I've had foreign exchange students from all over the world, and not a lot of them can play up to the American standards, but both Polyblank and Rufus played amazing basketball, and they owe a lot of that to Bobby Knight. Used to come down there and go fishing and teach the kids the game of basketball in New Zealand. Probably scouting as well, but yeah. Rufus is an exceptional young man. We love him. The team got along with him very well. There was a lot of, I think him and Gus Fox hit it off best. I think they were best friends, and they talked every day and played around. And Rufus has a great sense of what kids are all about, what basketball is about. He was our leader in the locker room like that. He could talk to people in a way that loosened things up and made things a little easier for all of us.
Coach, looking forward to next season. I know you're not technically going to be there. You'll be around, of course, but you won't necessarily have direct say within the program. But I want to ask, I know you're very high on this upcoming senior class. What is the team going to look like next season, and who are you excited to see play out on the floor for the Panthers next season?
Well, the first guy you have to mention is Ivory Washington. He's a junior this year. He was a tremendous player in the Grand Canyon region and around the state. A lot of coaches have already marked him down as a potential college recruit, and they've talked to us about him. Then there's like 5 or 6 other kids. We're talking about really tough kids with great discipline, hard. Some of the hardest working kids I've ever seen are the team that's returning this coming year. Gus Fox, Coulter Carden, Jacob Klaus, Pearson Watson, Tyler Reagan, Memphis James, and of course Ivory I mentioned earlier. But there's some great players in that group, and they'll hustle and they'll play really hard. They'll be hard to beat next year.
Coach, your replacement, I don't know if Cooper Elliott has been officially made your replacement or if he's still in the process of hiring, but just living under the assumption that maybe he becomes the head coach. You and I had talked off camera that you're real excited about that group of guys coming up. Are there any other players down at the JV or freshman level that you feel can also contribute with that group of now soon to be seniors?
Yeah, we have Adam Griffith, my JV coach, a great coach. There's 4 or 5 kids right now off the top of my head that could help us with this returning junior class. JT Begay, that's a great name in our program. His dad helps us coach. Julian's one of my top assistants. So JT Begay will be there. Nick Wolf, who shoots the ball unbelievably. He can hit long range threes all night long. Angel Baca, a famous name. His dad was a famous wrestler at Coconino High School. So there's a little rub there. And he's playing great basketball. Another young man, Kirby Skinner, that can play. Coached his dad many years ago in football. But overall, you combine that JV team and the kids that are returning, it's going to be a real solid class.
Coach, just real quick before we head into our break here, I do want to get your opinions with Coach Cooper Elliott, obviously potentially stepping in. What does he bring to the table for the program? And, where does he take the program in its next step now that you've stepped down?
Well, he's an amazing young man. He helped me so much this year. The kids really loved him. And he comes out of Kashmir, Washington, and he played at Washington State University and played baseball and he played basketball in high school. He was a tremendous baseball player, made it to the big leagues, just short of the big leagues in the Eastern Coast League. And the kids love him, and he's got a great history. His grandfather's a great all-world wrestling coach. His dad's a great coach as well. So it's runs in the family, tremendous character, commitment. He's a man who will take this program to the next level.
Again, we are speaking with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. The Panthers finished their season with a 15-3 record, earning them the number 10 ranking in the 4A, along with a region title and a playoff appearance. Coach Moran is retiring at the end of the season. Like we talked about, his replacement, potentially Cooper Elliott, getting ready to step in and take over that program. But our conversation with Coach Moran is not done just yet. We're going to continue our conversation on the other side of this break. We'll talk about Coach Moran's start in coaching, what he's learned, where he's seen the game change, and we're going to continue to dive into the very long and very successful career of Mike Moran when we come back right here on Off the Bench. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue our conversation with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation. We are continuing our conversation here with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. Coach Moran wrapped up his final year coaching basketball at Coconino High School with a 15-3 record, earning them the number 10 ranking in the 4A, and along with a 4A Grand Canyon region title. Way to end it for you, Coach, right on top of the region. You secure that title for the Coconino Panthers. Coach Moran has decided to retire at the end of this year. So, Coach, I want us to talk about your career and everything that you've seen. You started coaching freshman basketball under Royce Uri at East High School in Phoenix, a legendary coach in basketball here in Arizona, for those of you who are familiar with Coach Uri. But, Mike, I want to ask you, how influential was he when you first started coaching?
It's an amazing. I moved here from Wilmington, Delaware in 1973, the day after I graduated. And I played for a guy named Jerry Peden, who did exactly the same as Royce Uri in the defensive and the instruction and how to coach and how to play. So I end up over here at ASU taking a few classes. and I go to East High School to do essentially 7 hours of credit.
Right.
And I walk into East High School, I have no idea what I'm doing. I run into a guy named Royce Urey, one of the greatest coaches in the history of the game. And I got to work with his freshman team. I was an assistant coach. He had 2 freshman teams that year. And that's how he developed his program. But they were tremendous talent. I got to sit on the bench all year at the freshman level and watch these kids play. They went on to win 2 state championships in a row as juniors and seniors this class. So it was an amazing, the light bulb went on. I knew what I was going to do. Yuri was so good to me. I scouted for him. I went around, scouted all these great teams for him, and I think the world of him. I've never used his name anywhere. I have so much respect for him and what he's done in this state. Everybody loves Royce Yuri. And I just happened to have that opportunity to work at his school. It's an amazing story.
Coach, what specifically did you learn in those few years? And is there anything that Coach Yuri taught you that you still utilize today?
I do. I could speak to something real specific, and that's the 1-3-1 defense that Prescott ran. I was coaching one of his teams at the Basketball Congress International down in Phoenix in the summertime. And he said, Mike, how do you beat a 1-3-1? I told him, I said, you beat it down the floor, you move the ball faster than the zone can shift, blah, blah, blah. He goes, that's all good. He said, try this. And he taught me this elbow diagonal pass against the 1-3-1. And I used it against Prescott this year in a way that it changed the world up here. We beat him at our place using Royce Uri's stuff from how many years ago, So he had a big impact on me, the way he handled players, the way he inspired talent. He had great inner city kids down there that just loved him and played so hard for him. And it was an amazing year in my life.
Coach, can you kind of catch us up with the timeline when you left East High School and when you first arrived at Coconino High School?
Yes, in 1975, I worked at Devon Elementary School in Scottsdale. And then in 1977, I went and spent the year with Royce Uri. And then in 1979, I moved to Flagstaff. I get married with Trish, my wife, and we moved to Flagstaff 1979. And I saw a little job opening in the local newspaper. Basketball coach wanted at St. Mary's Parochial School. It was a 1 through 6, 7, 8 eventually. And I coached every sport there with Sister Bridget Mullally was my principal. And she believed in me. And we got that school humming and playing some ball. And I coached every sport there. And that one thing led to another, led me to Bill Epperson. I coached his daughter over there. Didn't even know who Bill Epperson was. And after the banquet, he said to me, I want to talk to you about coaching at East Flag Junior High School with me. And here he is, a 3-time state champion, Hall of Fame guy. Didn't even know who he was, but he opened the doors for me. I owe Bill Epperson everything. For my career in Arizona. Bill Epperson was the man.
Yeah, and Coach, obviously more than 300 wins in your coaching career. Multiple region titles, multiple state playoff appearances. I mean, Coconino this program is defined by Coach Mike Moran. Coach, I know there was a period where you left the program and came back. Can we talk a little bit about that time?
Sure. I'm not sure how much you want to know, but yeah, I moved into the office to be the athletic director at Coconino High School, and I was still coaching. Mm-hmm. And after the first year of doing that, I did a great job in the office. I worked really hard so I could do both. My principal at the time, Dave Roth, didn't want me to coach basketball anymore. He wanted me to stay in the office and give up basketball. I just couldn't do it. And a little rift occurred between the two of us because of that. I was definitely, I knew I was going back to coaching, and I upset my principal. And so I was looking for work, to be honest with you, at that point. And unfortunately, I could have been there another 10 years at Coconino High School. I went to Flagstaff High School a couple of years later, and I worked over there for 4 years and eventually worked my way back to the east side of town.
Yeah, they couldn't have you at the rival school, Coach. You were doing too well over at Flagstaff, so they had to call you back. And, okay, no longer being an Eagle, you're back to being a Panther. Come on over here and stay here. Again, we are speaking with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran, just about his career. He is retiring after the end. He's actually, I should say, now officially retired since the season has wrapped up for basketball. Coach, like you mentioned, you start your coaching career in 1975. you've concluded here in 2022. How have you seen the game change from that time when you started coaching to now? I mean, what has changed about the game? Is it the pace? Is it the tempo, which I'm sure is the same thing? Is it just the mentality of the sport, the way it's played? I mean, how have you noticed things change progressively since you got started?
Well, I think, I didn't play with the 3-point line in high school. 1973, there wasn't, but I never shot inside that line as a point guard, so I think the 3-point shot has been the biggest change in the game. That's a lot of years now, but yeah. I didn't like it at first. I would think, they're changing the game, but it has opened up the game. Look what Curry can do. I mean, he could shoot it at half court and make 50% of them. I mean, it's amazing. There's so many great basketball players that have put in a lot more time than we used to. The kids are in the gym all year long, and they're on club teams. They're traveling, they're playing. So the game has changed a lot in that respect. They spread the floor and shoot long range shots. I mean, watch Peoria play. They'll spread you out, attack and kick and shoot threes all night, and they'll score 100 points on you. So the game is better and faster than it's ever been. And the coaches have had to work a lot harder as well, I think, to prepare their teams in the off season.
Coach, obviously you're more directly involved with basketball here in Northern Arizona. I'm seeing it more from the outside looking in. I want to ask, is there anything that you're noticing trend-wise that we could see make its way into the game going forward?
Well, unfortunately, the selfishness of some of these kids that are, there's an issue, I think, with, it's all about me kind of stuff. I'm a family guy. I'm kind of outdated in this regard, and people will go wherever they think they can improve their situation. So you see a lot of great kids in every program. Even St. Mary's loses kids to other programs, which is, so you see that in terms of strategies or defenses. I just think that the kids play with so much more heart. They just play harder. Like you watch great college teams play, it is so intense. And I think the kids are picking up on all that.
Yeah. Coach, I want to ask, how has your offensive and defensive strategy changed over the years?
My defensive strategy hasn't changed a lick, not a bit, because I know that it works and that my kids believe in that. And they know that we're going to work on these things because look at the results. I think we are always we give up the fewest amount of points in the region every year. You see us with our W's, we get enough W's out of this style. So the offense has changed a lot because I like to see kids shoot the outside shot because it's so important. If they're in range, we talk about in rhythm. If you're in rhythm and in your range, I want them to shoot the ball because the kids are much better shooters than they've ever been.
Coach, I was talking with Coach Stedman, like I mentioned earlier in the program, and he had mentioned that, we were talking about that change, and I asked you the same question, which is just that change from the game going from the inside to the outside. Coach Stedman had mentioned when you guys played against each other that you prefer to keep the game inside. A lot of your guys kind of play that back to the basket, post game inside, where obviously the game has moved more towards the outside. Not to say that there aren't elements of your game that, don't revolve around the 3-point line, but why keep that traditional style of basketball with obviously those added adjustments? But, why kind of push harder for that inside post game?
Well, I guess I'm a stubborn Irishman to start with. That's probably my first fault. But, there's nothing. You rebound the ball. You play great D and you limit teams to one shot. You win a lot of games. And that's never going to change. And so I think it's harder to rebound. When you spread kids across the floor and you shoot a three, there's a lot of long shots, we say. So I like the post play. Yeah. I'd like to be able to get to the free throw line when it really matters. You watch teams this time of the year, the ball's going inside. They're trying to pound the ball in, get to the free throw line, and get good players in foul trouble. So I would continue to do the same thing. I think I might add a little bit of 1-4, do a little bit of that if I was to do this again next year. Rufus was trying to convince me of that this year, but I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned, down the stretch here in the playoffs, obviously we're not kind of done with the basketball season. There's just a few teams that are no longer playing right now. I was covering Camp Verde and Holbrook this week in their basketball game. And Holbrook was successful in doing what you just said, working the ball inside and drawing fouls. And I mean, that's how they beat Camp Verde. I mean, it's plain and simple. Like you said, you get inside, you get to the free throw line.
You know, Delbert's a great coach down there. I tell you, Dan Wall, amazing coach. I love those two guys, two of the best coaches that I know right now. And getting the ball inside late in the year is really important. But I can't tell you how good those guys are. I mean, they're great men, great coaches, and so they're great coaches in a way that I don't know how they get the talent to play as well as they do. We have a lot more talent than they do, so to speak, and they whipped us in the summertime, both teams. So we learn a lot from them, and but yeah, those are two great teams.
Again, like I said, we're speaking with Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran. Coach Moran is now officially retired from Coconino High School and coaching this program. He, at least for right now, is looking to turn the keys over to the program to assistant coach Cooper Elliott. Coach, I'd just like to ask, how have you grown as a coach throughout these years? Are there things that you've learned? Are there some tips that you've learned that you'd like to share? Just how has your coaching style changed?
I think it's changed a little bit, I think, in terms of I think we're more counselors today than ever before. I think the world, there are a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of stress. Kids are under a lot of anxiety. And, I just think so much of my kids and their ability to deal with what's going on in the world today. And that's changed a lot over the years, I think. And it'd be nice if it was just basketball, but that's not the reality that we live in today. And I worry about these kids, and I just want to build self-esteem and self-confidence in these kids through the game of basketball. We spend a lot of time together, and it's basketball is kind of the glue, but it's about human beings and loving each other and helping each other through this crazy world, and believing in them and giving them the hope that everybody deserves in this world.
Coach, let's jump off that. I mean, how have you been able to relate to these players? Obviously these past two years, almost three, have been very weird. 2020 with the pandemic, 2021, we were still kind of in the middle of the pandemic. Now we're somewhat making our way out of it. I just want to ask, how have you been able to relate to your players throughout the years? Like you said, now you're more of a counselor.
I turned to them a lot this year. I've been doing a lot of surveys, so to speak, asking kids how they're doing, how they're feeling, what's going on. We sat them. We have a little situation we call sitting in the chair. I asked you to sit in the chair. I said, Phil, I need to see you in the chair after practice. And we can talk about maybe what's going on in your world, how you feeling, how's school going, how's your mom, that kind of stuff. So we do a lot more individual meetings and team meetings where we sit down and we express our feelings and our thoughts. And this, the issue with racism in the world today, it's a common theme in our program where we talk about respecting one another's opinions and how to go about doing that. And we spoke up about the world today in a very, like a counseling session, so to speak. And the kids loved it. They loved each other. There were tears shed, and it was a very powerful process for us at Coconino High School. But it's been very difficult the last few years, and I've relied on the kids a lot to tell me where they're at and how they're doing.
And I think that speaks so much to who you are, Coach. Just that taking that time to sit down and talk to these kids about things outside of basketball. Everybody gets bogged down with sports. I get bogged down with sports. I'm sure there was a time, Coach, where you were coaching constantly. You were coaching the football team at Coconino at one point, along with the basketball team. Life just gets busy. And I think it's great that you get a chance to see these kids and go, not only are you my players, but you're also just people in the program. And there are things outside of your control that, you can't necessarily fix. Like you said, with the issues we still have here, it's nice. I'm sure these kids love to be heard and love to be, talked to like adults, because they may not get that opportunity that much.
That was, you just summed up my year with this senior class and this team. And I think it's the reason why we've been so successful. I've watched some great coaches talk to their players, and it amazes me to listen to the great leaders in this business. And, I try to feed off of a lot of those great coaches that I've known over the years. And it's about the kids. And if we work hard and we stick together and we always talk about family when we check out of the huddle. It's all family, and that's I think it makes a big difference.
Well, again, Coconino High School boys basketball coach Mike Moran, you have definitely been building that family. Like I mentioned, in his incredible career, more than 300 wins on the record for Coach Moran, and finishing out with a region title here this season. Coach, I maybe got one or two questions left for you, but I think this would be a big one. Is there anything that you want to say to any of the players who have gone through your program, who are getting ready to enter that senior year, or are thinking about playing basketball at Coconino? I mean, what can you say in general about your experience coaching basketball here in Northern Arizona?
Well, I think I could give them some pretty good advice. I haven't been around a long time and coached so many kids over the years. I think they're still listening, and I'm proud of that. I believe in these kids. I tell them I love them. I really mean it. It's been, a lifetime of love here at Coconino High School for me, and I'll never forget it. Never forget them either.
Well, Coach Moran, I wish you nothing but the best. It's always great getting a chance to speak with you. You're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the sport of basketball. I kind of wish I had gotten a chance to play at Coconino High School just to maybe grow my basketball knowledge as well, not to take away from my high school basketball coaches who were very instrumental in my development as well. But your passion for the game speaks through in that program at Coconino High School, and you've built something incredible there, a team that every year we're looking at to be at the top of the region because of what you created and what you started so many years ago. But Coach Moran, I know our relationship is relatively new, but I really appreciate you taking the time and welcoming me, welcoming the show, and setting time aside to hear me ramble questions at you. I'm sure I don't make sense the most of the time, but I really appreciate your kindness and your knowledge. And thank you very much for always being so available for me.
Philip, you're a true professional. I love this part of the game. Working with you guys, it makes a big difference for our kids, and our parents love it. And every one of my kids will be watching this very soon because they figure that stuff out as well. And I want to thank you for being such a class act and to interview all these kids and what we're doing here at Coconino High School. It's been a real honor to work with you, Phil.
Well, you've got an incredible passion, Coach, and I know that there are a bunch of other kids and players and people who can attest to all the things that we've mentioned here regarding your career. But thank you very much again for your service here in Northern Arizona, playing coaching basketball and impacting a lot of lives. And like I said, thank you as always for being so available. That is going to wrap up this show. I want to thank my guests on the program today, Prescott High School basketball coach Travis Stedman, and of course, the GOAT, Mike Moran of Coconino High School. Coach, best of luck in retirement. I really am going to miss you, but I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Phil. I'll talk to you again sometime.
That's the end of our show. We'll see you next week.